Everyone has their price, and in a $184 billion annually global market, video games seem like the price is only, going up. Um, so that revenue isn't reached by like a traditional box price like we're used to, but recently there has been the ever climbing box prices. Um, I don't know. I thought I would like chat about it a little bit, symbols and figures. Um all right, let's get into it. So, there was two games recently, Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed uh Shadows that both had the multi-tier, multi-price editions like we're starting to get used to seeing, except something a little different with this, even from this previous year's releases, is the standard edition is $70. They they're calling it gold edition, 110, and then ultimate edition, which has replaced the collector's edition now that this is just a digital purchase and there's no physical items to come with the collector's edition, so you're not actually collecting anything but debt. um, the ultimate edition is $130, and what they would really prefer you do is just sign up for Ubisoft Plus or oh, hey, they're both Ubisoft games. Never mind. I I'm so used to EA having the exclusive contract with Star Wars games that, I remember ironically thinking to myself, "Oh, I can't wait until EA loses its exclusive license for Star Wars games because surely that can only be good for, the future of games." So, anyway, both versions have a similar pricing tier, and the suggestion that you join Ubisoft Plus for $18 a month. This is the US prices, obviously. I don't know what that is in dollary dues or pounds or whatever your local currency is, but the US dollar price is fairly outlandish. Not at all unexpected, but still ridiculous. So I'm I'm used to games having the the price that I'll pay for it in the collector's edition. But it's that middle tier that like I didn't quite understand who it's for. In this case, the middle tier is like selling early access. 3 days of early access to a single player game for $39. You know, it's you value your time, right? It's not just the early access; it also includes the season pass. And if I go off of other games that have been priced similarly recently, it's only one session of the season pass. But I don't know that for sure because the game's not out and I can't confirm this. But yeah, season passes in a single player game is something like that we're kind of getting used to. It used to just be DLC. Um, but single player live services are where we are right now. Um, and the difference between the gold and the ultimate edition is the ultimate pack, right? And that part that is included with Ubisoft Plus. And my understanding is that is paywalled, like a paywalled quest. Like that there's just content that's part of the game that for, you know, like, just give us more money, why? Um, cost you 20 extra dollars, a like I don't know how big the mission is or how long, if it's DLC sized. You can, if you're willing to spend more for this game, then you can decide for yourself if a single mission is worth $20. If early access is worth 30, and early access and a single mission are worth 50, then respect your finances. But I understand hobbies get expensive, right? Like, so I mean, it's not judgment for me. It's more of just the absolute state of things. So, all right, I'm going to get this collector's edition off my screen. Um, so the thing about video game revenue is a lot of it just doesn't come from the straight box price anymore. Like as I've already kind of mentioned with Ubisoft Plus or Game Pass or I don't know what the PlayStation Network. I don't know. I don't know what the PlayStation one is called. I'm sorry, but basically the Netflix of video games, right? EA Plus, the monthly subscription to a games library that you know you're basically renting. Um, so those are being pushed because over the lifetime of depending on how like it's again it's up to the individual person if it's a good value proposition or not. I mean just full disclosure, I use the Xbox Game Pass because like I can also play the games on PC. And I treat the Xbox as like a completely different thing from my PC. Like I don't. It lives down in the living room. It's it's like a game system that like guest can use without getting on my personal computer, and it's more of like a social thing for me. Like I'm more likely to play like a casual couch co-op kind of game on it, and like and then I'll kind of sit at my computer to play like a game by myself. So I don't really treat it as like a replacement for one another. They serve different purposes to me. Um, I felt like mentioning that because I was asking a comment like why I would have an Xbox and a PC. That's kind of why. It's not really redundant to me. But yeah. I got kind of off track. So it's not just the normal box price of games anymore because like just single entry games aren't really the norm like they used to be. There's a there's different like layers of monetization and there's different ways that games are even made anymore. I I really like Elder Scrolls games, for example, right? And like it's been since 2011 since we last got an Elder Scrolls game, and I look forward. Maybe we'll see what we'll see if I'm disappointed when it comes out. But I look forward to Elder Scrolls 6, and I understand, like Bethesda kind of swapped between Elder Scrolls and Fallout games, but but something kind of different happened with those a couple years back, and that they just don't focus on the single player ones as much anymore. Is- Bethesda's parent company ZeniMax has Elder Scrolls Online, and I've personally felt like Elder Scrolls Online, at least in their eyes, it was treated as a market replacement for the single player games. Because as long as people are playing it and they're willing to they have I think quarterly uh updates for it. Like they could kind of I don't know, they're more like DLC than expansions. Like they're I in it, I've played some of them. I don't keep up with it anymore. I have my complaints with the game. Uh trying to melt his neck. The monetization is the biggest thing that keeps me away from that particular game. But and last I kept up with it, they had quarterly releases for it. Like they had like Morrowind was added, Somerset, there was like the Thieves Guild was expanded, Dark Brotherhood and everything. Um and and like for what they were charging for the updates, they kind of felt like it. They felt worth it. But it's one of those things with a lot of the MMOs that I play. I was used to them originally. They have the box price and the subscription, and you know, eh, back in the day, the subscription was a lot of money, right? But now a lot of them have the box price, which sometimes they don't. Sometimes a couple of years after initial release, they go kind of free to play, where there's not the initial cost, but all the other layers are a monetization are still there. So I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know for sure if they still have a box price, but they used to. Um, and then on top of that, um, there is you don't have an arm yet, so you don't get a face. Oh, you've got a face. All right. Um, the box price, the DLC or the battle pass or the expansion, right? And then they have the cash shop. A lot of them have viable currency, right? And I don't know, some of them even do more on top of that. So like this isn't um it's becoming more and more standard. And the most ridiculous part of it to me is that traditional games, as I think of them, at least as like a lot of people think of them, are only a small fraction of like where the revenue from the gaming industry is even coming from. Um and and that's like the part that is a little disheartening because, they're selling like, a 70 to $130 just initial box price, and you know that there's more monetization inside waiting for you, right? Um of like a game. When okay, let's go with like Activision Blizzard King, right? They were recently acquired by Microsoft, so like I don't even know how that's going to affect this, but previously, right? Um like Blizzard um made up and I think Activision to some extent, right? Made up a fraction of their annual revenue. Most of their money came from King, from the phone game Candy Crush, right? Like, they got more money from the phone game than from like all of their like annual normal video game IPs. It's crazy to think that, but that's that's the reality that we're in. Like Diablo Immortal makes way more revenue than Diablo 4, and Diablo 4 is really trying, Like it had an expensive box price. It had a paid early access. It had different additions to it, and there's a cash up, of course, and they put more effort into making the cash up work than the actual game at first. It rotates out based on how you interact with it to make sure that they don't keep people who want to spend money from spending money. They gotta rotate out the stock because they want to take advantage both of the fear of missing out, the FOMO, right, of having items go away, but they also want to have more items to buy for people that are looking to spend money. And it's a little sad, like for me, that so much effort went into how to get money um, from people, I mean, I understand that, like, games are made by businesses and businesses need to make money to stay in businesses, business there. There's a lot of people that work there and they have you know, they have to be paid to live. Like I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it's like that that they shouldn't make some money, but it really feels like exploitive at times, it just feels like um they're more interested in how much they can extract from their customers than like even trying to provide a good experience for them anymore, a good product. Like and I just understand that, like, profit needs to, you need to make a profit. And the most ridiculous part of it is some of the bigger games aren't even doing that. Like, there was Alan Wake 2 recently that didn't, that was, hugely successful and didn't make a profit. There was Hi-Fi Rush that, by all metrics, was successful, right? It was winning awards. It was an interesting game. Like rhythm games aren't really that popular or mainstream, especially one that's like available on like the PC or something where those are going to be more popular with consoles where they have the motion sensors or the little sticks or something, or even VR, where you can move your body for the rhythm game, right? Like instead of playing it on a keyboard or something or a controller, but still, like, it by all by all metrics, like the studios or the publisher seemed happy with them, and then the studio got shut down because it just wasn't financially successful enough. And um, and I just kind of wonder, like, what does it take for a game to be financially successful anymore? Um, you know, um, I've I've said this before, but StarCraft made less money than one horse, than the celestial steed made in Warcraft's cash shop. So, if you're treating them like, what would you do in this situation, right? Like, I can't, as much as I want to blame them, as much as I want to like to shame them, as if that would even help, right? Like, is it really as much their fault that, like, a lot of the consumers are willing to pay it, right? Like, paid early access wouldn't be so expensive or even exist if people weren't willing to spend the money on it, right? Because they're selling what people buy, right? Like, people are willing to spend $30 to play a game 3 days early when, some people are only willing to spend $30 total on a game, right? Everybody's got their price, everybody's got their limits. And you can't really, you know, you can't really blame companies for taking what's effectively free money left on the table, right? Like, people are willing to just give them extra money arbitrarily. Like, there's some mobile games that give you a timer, right? That's just energy systems or loot boxes with like an actual just timer ticking down on them, or like chest or something will drop. Elder Scrolls Blades, I think, has this where you get a chest and you have to wait to open it, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that one. I can't remember what it was even called, but there was this Harry Potter mobile game where there were vines that would strangle your character, and you could pay money. You could watch and wait, like, just wait for it to happen. and watch it, or you could pay money to get your character out. And it's just, you know, and I'm like, I, all right, but yeah, it's kind of a joke, but I mean, a lot of mobile games monetization system really is um creating a situation where you are frustrated and then charging you to pay them to stop frustrating you. You know, be it like to finish building something that takes an arbitrarily long time to build early, or refreshing your arbitrarily introduced energy system, or yeah, to open the treasure you've already earned. And and again, like, they wouldn't be selling it if nobody was buying it. And if it didn't work once, you know, then they would stop trying to do it. But after it works, then can you blame other game? I mean, yeah, you can blame them, but can you stop them, right? Other game companies from coming in and deciding, okay, well, I'm going to take that free money too. And if you look at the video game revenue, um, by like where it lies, um, gaming hardware, right, is uh, is a pretty big chunk of it, right? Like it accounts for like 240 billion of no, this is 20. This is speculative. Let me go back to okay, this is last year's. Okay. So hardware gaming was what accounted for like 145 billion, like a pretty big chunk of the sales, right? And then that makes sense. Like a lot of systems have exclusives to try to like sell the console. Um, I thought, and I don't know if this was true or is true, but I thought the console systems themselves were like loss leaders, as in they they sell them for less than the hardware components cost to assemble, because getting you to buy one puts you into the ecosystem where you're considerably more likely to buy games for the console, on the console, and then they take a cut of each individual game sold, right? Um so yeah, console gaming is still like a big chunk of the market. And and mobile gaming, of course, is a huge amount of it, especially um with um with the way that mobile game monetization works entirely different. Like a lot of the most expensive games you could possibly play are free. There's there's the one, you know, the games with energy systems, and there's the gotcha games. Those are those are just absolutely insidious. Um and very profitable. Like I don't have the numbers right now, but MiHoYoverse, like, who's responsible for like Genshin and like Honkai and games like that, made just so much money in the past 4 years. It is it's just shocking. But you know, the people that play those games seem to like them, so what are you gonna do? I mean, like, unfortunately, um, the only thing that matters to game companies, to shareholders, to publishers, is that the games are selling, right? Like that, you know, um, the revenue is happening. So if if people are going to spend more money, you know, bit by bit on their phone, then you're going to spend for a entire feature complete game as if as if as many of those are being made anymore. Then I can understand completely the desire to leave all of the headache and hard work of creating like a well-crafted narrative experience with all of the, the systems and the bugs and the design and the voice actors and the musicians and the writers and the programmers and, the layers of management and direction. Like, leave all that behind and just make a mobile game. And to be fair, some of them have gotten like a lot more elaborate than they used to be. I'm acting as if they're Pac-Man, and I understand that, like, a lot of them are surprisingly detailed. Um, like there's even some like what is it called? Blue Protocol or Genshin. Let's just go with Genshin. It's a big open world game that has like narrative story and regular updates and that sort of thing. And it's very popular because of it. Because it can be played on a phone, and that's it's pretty impressive. Like how elaborate some of them are able to be, and then the same time, like there's Candy Crush or Angry Birds or Flappy Birds or um I don't know some of the little like MOBAs or RTSs and that sort of thing. Um, I trade out Diablo Immortal just to see what it was like. But I tried the PC version of it. So, I don't I don't have any games on my phone. Um, I I was surprised that it had like a better character creator than Diablo 4 does. That's really disappointing. But something else that it had is you could pay more money to get better dungeon loot, like just up front. Like you could spend money beforehand to ensure that better things drop for you in the dungeon. It was the most blatant, like, pay to win thing I'd ever seen, but it doesn't matter because, like, the mobile market just completely accepts, like, it just accepts that this is how it works. And, it's the PC and console gamers that are, that are like shocked by the increasing prices of these games. But honestly, um they can just charge $130 and some people will pay it. And even more people will see that 15 or $18 a month and think, oh, well, that's a better deal than spending $130. I'll sign up for that. But the thing is, they're advertising it months in advance. So if you go ahead and sign up for it, looking around at like some games on there that you'd probably want to play in the meantime, by the time that game comes out in a couple of months, you've spent well more than the box price um, for it. So, um, I don't, I don't know the number offhand, but there was some estimate of how much money people spend on idle subscriptions, where you sign up for something that's not that much money and it's not really worth dealing with, like, the Planet Fitness membership or, if you've got Netflix and Disney Plus and like all these other like streaming services or Peacock or, I don't know, Paramount Plus or something, right? You forget about some of the ones that you have, and it doesn't seem like very much at a time. It's like $5 or $15 or something, but they all start adding up to the and a lot of the money that are made off of those are made from people completely forgetting um, to cancel their subscription. Like, they just they just sort of leave it and don't even use the services. So, there's a big reason that a lot of the game publishers, like Ubisoft, I think EA kind of teamed up with like they used to kind of do it on their own, but I think they've teamed up with Xbox because a lot of the EA Plus or EA Pass, I don't remember what it was called, games have shown up on Game Pass. Which I already own all the EA games I'm gonna play, so it wasn't that great of a value proposition for me, but it would be for somebody who hasn't played them before. Um, but but yeah, it it's hard to say it's a bad value because it's actually not. If even if you play one new release per month, then it's going to be less than it would have been to own it. And everybody's like heard the quote going around. I actually think it was somebody at fairly high up at Ubisoft that said it, but um I can't remember for sure. Um, people should get used to not owning games anymore, right? Like digital games made up, I think, 87% of the console games that were sold last year. Like when when I went to like a Best Buy fairly recently, I was gonna pick up a game as a gift for somebody. I go to the section where you normally would have seen boxes of games, and there was just like the shelf was cordoned off, and there was just a printed out note that said that you can purchase them online. Like they just took the section out of the store, or they left it in the when businesses are like, sorry, we've moved, right? Like they didn't have physical copies in the store for, like, of the game at all. And I haven't even gone to look at other stores to see if it's similar, but it's you know I don't know. I can't, like, I absolutely I personally like the idea of owning a game. I like owning the box. I like knowing that because I go back and play old games. I like knowing that at any point I can go back, reinstall it, and I can run it in an older version of Windows or to try to make it work, right? Um, I like knowing I can do that because I do like to go back and revisit some of my favorites. But let's you know, let's say for a second that I didn't care about that. Then it's really hard to say that like a monthly pass on games isn't a good value proposition because it is less per month than purchasing out and out a new game that you would probably only play for like a month or so. And I'm talking about the single player kind of 30-hour campaign. Maybe or maybe not. It would have like a multiplayer component or something. But I'm just you know the the like play through once single player experience kind of games. It probably is cheaper for a single month than I'm out buying it. And if you're a person that does that kind of regularly, then it might be worth it, especially if you never replay games. So I can understand completely how that has become more of the standard. Um, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I can understand it. Um, I of course I wish it wasn't that way, but it feels like, oh, gotten my magnifying glass in the way. Hang on. All right. I have moved it so much it's coming unclamped from my table. There we go. I got this so I wouldn't be looking down constantly, but I'm pretty sure I still am. Okay. Gonna get his face glued on. Um, I don't know. I like everybody else. I like most people that I've seen talking about it at least. Think that that the box price for like the two Ubisoft games that I'm familiar with that's been released or announced recently, like I feel like $130 is completely out of hand. I mean, especially if it's like a 30 to 60 hour game or something. That's so much. You know, but then again, not that I agree with it, but that I understand it. I'm gonna say this was Andrew Wilson that said this, but I don't know for sure. Um, it could have been. Okay, no, I was thinking it could have been Pete Hines, but now I'm just gonna unfairly attribute it to somebody else. So I don't know who said it, but there was a CEO that was talking about this, saying that as much as people complain about the price of video games, there's still out like dollar per hour of entertainment that they provide. One of the cheapest entertainment options that you can get because you know, you pay like $18 to see a 2-hour movie when people actually went to movies. I don't know. Do you still go to movies? Um I I can't argue with that because, even at even at like $90, that's still only a few dollars an hour, right? Um but then again, and this goes back to I've talked about it kind of recently, like have has the scope of games gotten too big anyway? Like do we need um hundreds of hours of game if a lot of it is just filler and busy work, if we're exploring a randomly generated large area, without much interesting to do and doing kind of like radiant quest, um, you know, at that point, like, do we even need that? I mean, like, I argue, yes, of course we do, because if I really like something, I want to luxuriate in it. I want to spend as much time as I possibly can. Like you know, I complain about large open games, but I enjoy them. It's a little discouraging, right? If you explore some big open world game like Starfield and realize that there's nothing to find, right? Like um that eh, the thrill of exploration is lost when you explore to discover that there's nothing there, right? And I even saw like an argument that I can understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree to. I'm just going to push this out of the way because it is falling on me. Uh, I'm trying to, okay, I got this last one's like face and arms on. I'm so close. Yeah, I'm going to glue like these two on their bases. I'm so close to finally getting these assembled that I wanted to finish it. I guess I'll glue these last two on the base and then I'll kind of wrap this up. So I'm trying to remember what I was saying. Um, yeah, in Starfield, right? Um, it was like this big open space game, but it was just a bunch of like procedurally generated just rocks and copy paste of the same bases over and over again. I did see that there's a mod that reskins it into Star Wars. I want to download that before it gets taken down because that sounds like fun. But it doesn't fix the fundamental problem with that game, and that is that there's nothing to find. Like, there's no reason, you know, no, I can't say there's no reason because some people just feel the call of the unknown, right? But it's completely disappointing to explore something to find that there was nothing there, right? Like, and I saw the argument being made that it's more rewarding for you when you do find something if you don't find something every time. The whole idea of random rewards, like that if if rewards become predictable, then you don't get the same like dopamine hit from them. It's the reason that gambling is so effective because losing is just as important in winning and making the wins feel good to your brain. Um, that's probably true. It's a little disgusting that so much of modern gaming is about the psychology of how um you know humanity works and how to best exploit it. um you know, and not always for a bad in a bad way. The guy that made Vampire Survivors worked at a casino, and he used the principles that he learned about slot machines to make a really fun video game. So cool, right? But a lot of game companies spend more on a psychiatrist to work on monetization than they do on writers to just make a good story. You know, just give people a reason to play your game instead of, I don't know, instead of manipulating people into playing your game for longer, give them an enjoyable experience that they want to play. Like, remember when people used to do that? Like, I don't know. Um, Maybe I'm being a little bit cynical, but I don't know. Um, I I understand that this is the state of things, and it doesn't matter if I accept it or not. It's how things are. But I don't know. I'm not necessarily. I mean, I am. I've complained quite a bit about it, but But the point of talking about it isn't just to complain about it. Like I don't know. I'm genuinely curious. What other people think about the state of games. Like specifically, do you feel like it's worth it somehow? Do you feel like the scope and spectacle um like of some games is worth the like creeping up price, like the more and more realistic graphics or, you know, um I bring up this example quite a bit, but Cyberpunk is so impressive. But it cost more than like a blockbuster movie to make. It was a very expensive game, and it looks amazing. It's very detailed. It's I don't know. It's really cool to just run around Night City. And a lot of work went into it, and I feel like you know as expensive of a game as it was to make and buy and fix and everything, I still feel like it's gonna hold up for a long time. Like going back for replays, it's still nice to fire up The Witcher, like Witcher 3, and because it's still a good game. Some of the games I like to play are nearly 20 years old now, so but they're still good. So all right, well, this turned into a bit of a ramble. Okay. So, The camera's kind of dark. You can't really see these guys very well. So I'm going to make a separate video kind of showing them like in a better way. And then the next time I'm going to finish assembling them because I'm close enough. The next time I'm going to prime them and then finally start painting them. I just feel like it took longer with me kind of like talking during it, but I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. I think it feels longer to me because I'm sitting here looking at them on my table. But yeah. All right. Take care.